A weak boy finds an overpowered mechanical arm that destroys everything on its own. As he rides through the futuristic city of Kitakagami, the protagonist's attention is captured by something unusual happening on top of a building. Moments earlier, inside the building, armed guards realize that a valuable item was being stolen by a young woman using robotic limbs. She effortlessly scales the structure and reaches the balcony, only to be met by dozens of men pointing their guns at her. The tattoo on her leg starts glowing, enhancing her mechanical limbs. One of the guards yells that she's a Mecha-Ude user. Her speed and power are extraordinary, but the security team uses anti-Mecha-Ude weapons to disable her. Just then, a man with his own mechanical limbs arrives to retrieve the stolen item. The girl's robotic arm, seemingly alive, is stunned to see another of its kind working against it, but the man claims Mecha-Ude are just tools for humans. He pulls the item back with his bladed chains, but the girl orders her limbs, Sinus, and Dex to attack. She breaks free and charges at him, igniting a fierce battle. As they fight, security opens fire again, but the woman dodges the bullets and continues. After a brutal clash, she grabs the item, but a crack in its glass causes it to explode, emitting a beam of light that the boy saw from afar. After the explosion, a cube falls from the shattered container and tumbles off the building. The following morning, Hikaru Amatsuga wakes to a voice in his head pleading for help just as his alarm clock finishes ringing. After a while, he heads out with his bag. Throughout the city, Higami Corporation's ads and drones are everywhere. On a crowded subway, Hikaru is still puzzled by the events of the previous day. While researching, he stumbled upon an article on Naohito Kagami's work. In the comments, someone says it's pointless for ordinary people to try. Just then, a man falls asleep on Hikaru's shoulder, interrupting him. Nearby, a pregnant woman catches his eye, while two older women seem to gossip about his manners, but Hikaru remains stuck under the sleepy passenger. Turning back to his phone, he spots an ad for Kitakagami Prep School, which makes him sweat nervously. Frozen in place, he watches as the sleeping man offers his seat to the pregnant woman. Hikaru suddenly remembers he forgot something and needs to get off, but three classmates approach him for a chat. During their talk, someone mentions receiving a sports ball, and Tagawa remarks that in baseball, Yakumo Kagami is Kitakagami's biggest star, but now the spotlight is on the monster Kosu Tagawa. The prep school ad reads, "Take a step forward, seize your future," but Tagawa believes people like them struggle because they can't take that step. He asks for Hikaru's thoughts, but Hikaru, lost in his phone, doesn't hear him. Meanwhile, the girl with the Mecha-Ude learns from her mechanical arm that the cube must be nearby. After glancing away from his phone, Hikaru shares his version of what happened the previous day. He recalls hearing a voice, looking out the window, and seeing a strange glow around the Kagami building. Climbing to a higher spot for a clearer view, he witnessed the building explode and recorded it. Along with the blast, a glowing object fell from the building, though none of this was captured on video. At that moment, a girl named Shirayama joins them, and Tagawa tells her Hikaru's been experiencing strange hallucinations involving voices and explosions. Another friend asks what the voice sounded like, and Hikaru, embarrassed, admits it was someone asking for help. As soon as he says this, he feels a strong sense that the voice came from a specific direction and abruptly runs off without explaining. Hikaru reaches a restricted area where a police officer warns him to stay back. After the officer leaves, Hikaru hears the voice even more clearly and crosses the barrier, approaching a grated door that leads to a dark room. Gathering his courage, he enters and discovers the cube that had fallen from the building. As he tries to figure out if the voice came from it, the cube suddenly asks for help. Hikaru realizes it wasn't his imagination. The object climbs onto his hoodie and emits the same brilliant light seen from miles away, catching the attention of a girl with mechanical limbs. A robotic arm emerges from the cube, slowly assessing the safety of its surroundings. Hikaru spins around trying to understand what's going on, when he notices something clinging to his back. Naturally, he's terrified as the mechanical arm thanks him for saving it but struggles to remember its own name. Panicking, Hikaru tries to pull it off, but as the arm begins to cry, he apologizes, still confused. Suddenly, a drone from the Kagami group locates Hikaru, labeling him as a potential target and chasing him with spinning blades. Hikaru runs, the metallic arm grabbing his pants to hold on, which causes them to fall and makes him trip. In desperation, Hikaru offers the arm to the drone, thinking it's the target. But when attacked, the arm defends him, disabling the drone. However, more drones appear with the same mission, and the robotic arm warns Hikaru that they must work together to escape. Meanwhile, in a massive office, an important figure is informed that the trigger arm has been found and has attached itself to a civilian. Naohito Kagami, the company's president, decides to let his subordinates handle the situation. They order a 2-mile perimeter around the area, determined to recover the arm no matter what happens to the kid. Meanwhile, Hikaru and the arm hide from the drones, successfully evading them. Relieved, Hikaru asks what the robotic arm is, but it can't answer, having forgotten its own identity. The robot understands one thing: the boy in front of it is kind. Hikaru says he hasn't done anything special, but the arm insists it was saved, explaining that without arbitrium it wouldn't be able to move so well. Hikaru asks what arbitrium is, but the robot ignores him and instead asks for his name. Hikaru doesn't answer and simply wishes the arm good luck before walking away. As the arm starts losing power, Hikaru grows concerned and runs back to check on it. The arm regains its strength, but Hikaru, now frustrated, walks away again. Each time he leaves, the arm weakens, so Hikaru gives in and stays by its side. Drones eventually find them, and the arm, now called Alma, drags Hikaru away as a Kagami employee watches from above, assuming the drones will handle the situation. Meanwhile, Aki Murasame, guided by her mechanical arms, follows the path of a mysterious beam. When she reaches Hikaru, she takes over and together, they defeat the drones. Aki then warns Alma not to move unless it wants to die. One of Aki's arms demands she first vow to protect them, but the other arm argues it no longer matters. Then the enigmatic Kagami employee reappears, eager to settle the score for what Aki did to him the night before. Aki responds that she has no business with the man, while Hikaru and Alma try to escape via the narrow path. The girl moves to pursue them, but the enemy reacts, stopping her from leaving. Amidst the confusion, Hikaru navigates the fork and dodges more drones. Aki is livid at her rival's interference, while the protagonist begins to lose his composure in this wild, unexpected turn in his life. Although he keeps running, exhaustion starts to weigh on him. Seeing this, Alma offers to stay behind, saying Kagami is after him, not the boy, and the last thing she wants is for this kind-hearted kid to get hurt for no reason. At that moment, Aki catches up with them after defeating the Kagami employee, now free to complete her mission. Alma pledges to obey Aki if she lets the boy go, but Hikaru recalls a report stating that ordinary people never even get a chance, so he decides not to abandon the mechanical arm in this chaos. Seeing that Hikaru intends to resist, Aki realizes she has no choice but to use force, preparing her Mecha-Ude for battle. As this unfolds, Alma asks for Hikaru's trust and urges him to take a step forward, saying that only by working together can they have a chance. Hearing this, Hikaru recalls Kagami's prep school advertisements always trying to convince people life is easy, which fills him with a surge of anger, driving him to charge at the enemy. In that moment, Alma activates its system, growing in size and power. With a strong punch, it drives a key into the ground. This gives Hikaru and his robotic companion the opportunity to escape, and they take it without hesitation. Around the area, other Kagami employees are closing in, searching for the runaways, while the boy and his metal arm choose the least likely routes to avoid being caught. During the escape, Hikaru mentions hearing Alma's name from the woman and introduces himself to the mechanical entity. Meanwhile, a young boy collapses from exhaustion after realizing that someone has stolen Alma from him. Gasping for air with the help of an inhaler, he angrily declares that the trigger arm is his. At the same time, the leader of a rival group, which Aki is part of, regrets their failure but stresses that Alma must be retrieved before it ends up in enemy hands. With this goal in mind, Aki is sent back on the same mission. Without hesitation, the investigators swiftly identify the boy who attempted to flee with the trigger arm, a random middle schooler who got entangled in the whole situation. According to investigator Tus, eliminating him would be a cruel command. However, her partner Warner responds that this highlights the significance of the trigger arm and asks if she has any emotional attachment to the boy. Tus retaliates by pinching his leg sharply, remarking that it's because of people like him that they aren't taken seriously. Warner concedes that Tus is diligent, and she assures him she wouldn't hesitate even if it involved a child. When Hikaru went to the school restroom, he never expected that woman to pursue him relentlessly. Alma appeared, noting with surprise that Aki wasn't showing any signs of aggression. Hikaru remarked that they likely wouldn't be attacked even in the classroom, so Alma suggested they talk to Aki, saying there was so much confusion earlier they didn't have a chance to say anything. However, Hikaru clearly remembered Aki vowing to unalive him, so he wasn't convinced by the idea. In fact, he thought it might be wiser to contact the police or something. Deep in thought, Hikaru was startled when he noticed Alma had unraveled the entire toilet paper roll, nearly covering them both in the restroom. Alma, fascinated by the contraption, claimed he just couldn't resist. Out of the blue, Aki appeared, advising that the young man shouldn't speak to the police because the officers were mere pawns of the Kagami group, and if they captured Hikaru, they'd hand him straight over to the boss. Amidst the chaos, Aki offered to be his bodyguard. Panicking, Hikaru protested that it was the men's bathroom and darted out as quickly as possible. Still wrapped in toilet paper, Shirayama watched the chaos unfold, But what terrified her most was seeing Aki chasing after Hikaru with unrelenting determination. Later, Hikaru met his friends who were curious about his situation with Aki. He tried to explain that she was literally chasing him, but they didn't believe him, thinking he was hiding something. Just then, Aki appeared again, and one kid pointed out where Hikaru was. By that time, Hikaru had already fooled and found a hiding spot. Suddenly, Shirayama approached Aki and introduced herself. Noticing how anxious Aki seemed, she offered her a box of cookies. While Shirayama explained the flavors, Alma and Hikaru were terrified, thinking Aki might hurt Shirayama. But to their surprise, Aki eagerly accepted the cookies. Despite Aki's social awkwardness, the two seemed to click, thanks to Shirayama's outgoing nature. This left Hikaru puzzled. While Alma suggested he talk to Aki, Hikaru had a different idea: sleep. Alma grumbled, but Hikaru explained he couldn't talk about the mechanical arm at school. Switching topics, Alma noticed Hikaru pulling headphones from his pocket. He explained they were noise-canceling, which fascinated Alma. As the strange scene unfolded, Shirayama subtly gave Aki advice about Hikaru. When Hikaru returned to school, Alma kept urging him to talk to Aki, but he wasn't emotionally ready. Shirayama caught up with him, handing over a note from Aki, asking to meet in the old school building's art room after class. Shirayama scolded Hikaru, saying Aki had been searching for him all day but couldn't find him, leaving Hikaru stunned. Thinking he was just shy, Shirayama dragged him to the meeting spot, telling him to accept Aki's feelings. Once inside, Hikaru realized Aki had used Shirayama to get her way. But Aki clarified that Shirayama had orchestrated everything. Hearing Aki use Shirayama's first name despite having just met her drove Hikaru crazy. Still, he wanted to know Aki's purpose. Aki revealed she was part of ARMS and needed to retrieve the trigger arm. Since Hikaru was bonded with it, they had to bring him too. Alma, feeling weak without Hikaru, agreed and Hikaru accepted, wanting answers about himself. Aki tried to make sense of it all, and when Hikaru tried to speak, one of Aki's arms told him to be quiet, noting Aki struggled with complex thoughts. Finally, she insisted they examine the robotic arm immediately, leaving Hikaru with no choice. He asked if Alma could grow large again, like before, to handle any threats. The mecha complied, unleashing its power. Aki was impressed, but the arm quickly weakened. Seizing the moment, Hikaru grabbed it and ran, while Alma complained he shouldn't be running in the hallway. Aki pursued them furiously. Shirayama appeared, reminding Hikaru to talk to Aki, which sent him into a panic as he sought a way out. Meanwhile, Tus was tracking his target, but a student blocked his entry. Trapped, Hikaru realized his only option was to head upstairs. Aki's arms pointed in conflicting directions, yet she chose to go down. Suddenly, a hole opened in the ceiling above Hikaru, and he found himself under Aki's control. She confessed confusion over why he hadn't defeated her when she was vulnerable and demanded to know his intentions with Alma. Though one of her arms tried to explain Hikaru meant no harm, she ordered them to prove their bond as her arm regained power, but soon weakened again. Aki tells Hikaru that he's only injuring the trigger arm, forcing her to deal with the boy. Shirayama bursts in, misinterpreting the scene, and leaves, thinking he's interrupting something romantic. Warner uses the open door to sneak into the school and target Hikaru. Hikaru spots Warner wearing a Kagami Group uniform, and Warner reveals his Mecha-Ude, aiming to take down Alma's host with a sonic shot. The spy opens the door wider, giving a sniper a clear shot at Hikaru, who barely escapes. Warner continues the chase until Hikaru is stunned again. At the end of the hall, the sniper fires, but Aki blocks it with her metal arm. She reports finding two chained Mecha-Udes that don't seem to be of the worm type. Aki assumes Warner is from Kagami's expansion department. Alma asks what a chained Mecha-Ude is, and one of Aki's arms explains that it's a device that enslaves robots. Aki tells Hikaru to hide with Alma, but Warner attacks with luminous blades. Hikaru, exhausted from running, wants to give up, but Alma refuses to leave Aki and the Mecha-Ude behind. Reluctantly, Hikaru follows Alma's orders. At the bottom of the stairs, Alma is on the verge of collapse from being so far from the boy. Hikaru approaches, telling the robot to stop acting tough, knowing his condition. He places the trigger arm on his shoulder, thinking of ways to counter the sonic shot. Meanwhile, Tuz asks her partner for an update but receives no reply, so she heads into the facility. Inside, the henchmen have chained Aki's Mecha-Ude. They offer them to her, but she refuses, stating she's not like them. She's carried outside, where Tuz asks about the trigger arm. Her partner reveals it's hidden in the old school, but Tuz shifts focus to a key. Frustrated, she can't unalive the ARMS member due to her orders. As Hikaru arrives carrying the target, the villain is confident, but Hikaru warns it won't be as easy as before. Warner fires the sonic shot again, But this time the boy, wearing noise-canceling headphones, dodges it. He throws his metal arm to free Eiki's Mecha-Udes. The problem is, Hikaru has to stay close to the arm to prevent malfunction. He leaps toward Alma but gets hit by Tu's rifle, losing one side of his headphones. Still, the plan works and Eiki is freed. Without a second thought, she uses Tu as a barrier against the sonic blast and swiftly charges at Wanner, her defense holding firm. With this protection, she's able to close the gap between her and a Kagami member, delivering a crushing blow. The intensity of the battle causes the old school building to collapse. Tuus manages to escape, but Wanner is left behind. Other ARMS members arrive shortly after, criticizing Aki for the chaos she caused and inquiring about Alma. Meanwhile, security staff from a facility decide to reach out to White Raven, as someone has stolen the highly dangerous artificial Mecha-Ude Ouroboros. Meanwhile, Hikaru is taken to the ARMS headquarters, an organization that opposes the Akagami group and was founded to free the Mecha-Udes from their constraints. The leader of the group introduces himself as Algis and reveals that his Mecha-Ude is called Fist. Fist refers to Alma as little brother and assures him that his memories will soon return. However, despite needing Alma's assistance, they make it clear that Hikaru is not necessary. If you're enjoying the journey of this series, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All of your support helps me to keep bringing more high-quality recaps.